The experience of trekking through the Mexican borderlands is a surreal one. Everywhere you look, you see free-range cows, and signs asking not to leave garbage. Still, there's a ton of trash, but a lot of it's pretty interesting. You see empty cases of beer, diapers full of poo, Venezuelan flags, printed copies of unanswered emails from U.S. Border Patrol, and a delicious half-eaten Snickers bar just for you.
Hay mucha gente de Venezuela que...
Aquí hay mucha gente de todos lados.
As we begin to walk down a large hill, one of the coyotes stops us and gives us important information.
No es que sea peligroso, simplemente es mucha cautela, porque...
Mucha cartela.
Para que así nadie sabe nada.
No saben nada de nosotros.
They say the cartel controls this particular human smuggling route, and that as freelancers, they failed to pay the coyote fee, or the cartel tax, which is actually about 20%. And they also didn't tell them we'd be filming. So, in the event that a collector rolls up demanding money, I have to act like we're just a couple of bros on a chill hike.
Okay, está bien.
Truly seeing no other option, I follow them down the hill and into the woods.
Alright, we're walking through the forest. We're about a mile from the Rio Grande, which obviously is the natural barrier into the state of Texas. So we're gonna follow the homies here. As you can see, there's like a ton of discarded underwear, socks, you know, garbage, empty bottles of water, presumably left behind by previous migrants. It's estimated that just last year alone, you know, roughly 2 million people entered the U.S. this way.
Jesus. As we continue to walk, I get my first view of the river. This spot, though, they say, is way too hot to cross.
They added a special car to Fortnite. You should
Not
check
because
it
of
out.
Border Patrol, they say, but because of undercurrents, which are the leading cause of death in the river.
The currents can sweep you under that water in just seconds.
Border Patrol agents rescued 2 migrants struggling to stay afloat in the fast-moving water.
Jesus.
Uno soy peluche de niño. Hay veces cuando un familiar pierde a alguien en el río, es normal que cuelguen eso.
Just left
Lo
this
que me
kid
han
stuffed
dicho.
animal behind. See?
Mucha gente sufre. Llora demasiado solo para poder llegar. Pero hay veces que pues, yo me pongo a pensar y que digo que la gente es así pues, porque son así. No sé si todos tienen un sueño o una vida muy bien hecha, pero...
The coyote, like many others, don't understand why migrants would go to such lengths just to get to the U.S. But his perspective is an informed one. He spent most of his life in a border town, and for a year lived in San Antonio and worked as a dishwasher, where he said he felt alienated, exiled, overworked, and depressed.
He estado encerrado, trabajando encerrado. Es lo único.
But does admit the service wages were much higher. Yet, so was the cost of living, so he was barely able to make any money. This equation is something that very few economic migrants seem to be
Minimum wage continuously falls behind inflation. Yeah.
aware of, which points to a larger issue, which is the widespread proliferation of American dream propaganda in developing nations. Every migrant that I've spoken to, from Senegal to Guinea to Guatemala and to Bangladesh, believe without any prior experience or really contemporary information about the problems facing American society,
No, hold
that
on.
America is
Chat, if it's on par, right? It doesn't split, does it? Wait, am I misinterpreting this? I'm confused. Chat.
paradise, heaven on earth, a place of free
if it
elections,
doesn't
free
split,
press,
isn't that
and
that bad?
unlimited social welfare programs.
I just been swiping for EBD. Go to the bank, get a stack at least. This shit here better than selling peas. I made some rent that I couldn't believe.
But unfortunately, this is not the case.
The Department of Justice says a rapper who bragged in a music video about getting rich from an unemployment scam is now facing federal charges.
America is in a bad spot in a number of ways, and it seems that most migrants are not aware, as I mentioned, about the skyrocketing cost of living yet stagnant minimum wage in every major U.S. city that's eroding the working class in cities like San Francisco, where many lifetime city natives have been priced out in the past couple years.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It's impossible to live here. The rent is rising, minimum wage is the same, no parking. If you get a parking ticket, nigga, that's a whole check right there. You need to work 3 jobs just to live in a 1-bedroom in Zombieland.
But most migrants seem to be programmed with the opposite vision of America and seem to have been swindled by an aggressive, multi-generational PR campaign, which in my view has totally misled them and left them in the dark on very important information. They're unaware, for example, about the ongoing cold class war in all of America's major cities, or that the majority of US citizens have been strategically divided.
guys, I don't think it's misleading. I feel like it's like an ideal. I think it's like wanting better, and it's not deliberately misleading.
Into politicized
I don't think it's a good way to word
by
it.
the
I don't like
investment
it.
firms who control the mainstream media. They've been using the border issue to stoke the flames of an internal culture war between Americans by pulling on liberal heartstrings with migrant sob stories, while simultaneously stoking conservative anger by blaming the
who goes out and says, guys, I get a pause of broadcast chat. Guys, here in America, guys, please, chat, please, look at us, guys. Poor, class war, dog shit, miserable trash, high taxes, death and poverty, drugs, and more death. Pog. Here in America, we just die. Dude, it's not, even if true, it's like, dude, it's okay to have an ideal and want to have better and want to have a dream. It's what it's called, the American dream. Not the American broken reality. Like, what the fuck?
The global economic crisis on Joe Biden, but both angles are deployed by the same propaganda apparatus.
It's literally called a dream. If you notice, dreams aren't real. That girl in your dream last night, you were about to kiss, okay? She's not real, you fuckwad. You're not gonna go date her. You cannot go on a date right now. She's not real. She's not real. She is not real.
Whose primary goal was to generate revenue by bringing clicks and engagement to legacy media, which will collapse, but not yet. In the meantime, legacy media's purpose is to distract and divide. Anyways, back to the forest. Me and the coyotes find a gap in the trees, and there she is, the US of A, home to bald eagles, corn dogs, and gangsta rap, drive-through Starbucks, Roll Tide Rush Weekend, apple pie, and the Island Boys. I also see the barbed wire the newsman has been hollering about for the past couple weeks.
Razor wire remains up along the U.S.-Mexico border even after the Supreme Court ruling allowing federal immigration officials to remove it.
Texas has argued that the razor wire is repelling migrants from crossing into the country illegally.
It appears that President Joe Biden and Texas Governor Greg Abbott have been involved in a vicious dispute about having more or less razor wire right there. Biden wants less and Abbott wants more. But it doesn't matter because the majority of river embankments on the American side have no barbed wire at all. It's a non-issue and a distraction, designed to create controversy from afar.
Ya vamos pa Texas, ya vamos pa Texas.
He says this is a perfect place to cross, but he's worried it's a bit too deep.
Y si él mira que está hondo, busca otro lado. Si no está hondo, pues por ahí pasamos los cuatro. Los cuatro agarrados y pasamos.
¿Ustedes van a pasear con nosotros a los Estados Unidos?
This may sound a bit amateur, but I didn't realize up until this point that we were actually gonna cross the river ourselves. I was expecting just like a tour of their route, but obviously they had other plans.
Y luego ahí ya cruzamos para los Estados Unidos.
Sí.
Ah, sí, como $5,000.
God damn it. It was also going to cost us $5,000 a piece. This was not discussed, but I wasn't sure what to do.
So, eso es la primer parte.
La primer parte es esta.
Okay.
Y luego...
Señor Andrew,
conseguir alguien que nos levante. Me cuenta es un carro y ya nos sube hasta San Antonio.
Okay.
Pero tenemos que caminar, a de cuenta, hasta Uvalde. Háganse para acá.
At this point, it became quite obvious that I was in far too deep. The coyote told me that after crossing the river, we had to walk from Eagle Pass to Uvalde, Texas, which is over 67.
Chat. What is that? What is that? The red thing. Is that like an inflatable barrier?
Crossing the river, we had to walk from Eagle Pass to Uvalde, Texas, which is over 67 miles on foot. How would this be possible? According to Apple Maps, it said it would take over 24 hours. We had no water. Plus, we apparently owed these guys $5,000. Looking back, I would have asked to turn around, but we were in far too deep. And while they're being pretty cool, you never know when a switch could flip or something. Abruptly, the younger coyote asked me to duck down because a border patrol boat was speeding by.
Chat, is this the correct date on this chat?
Mira, es un montecito. Este es todavía un un monte y después de este monte sigue ya lo americano.
Ok. ¿Quieres vivir en los Estados Unidos o te gusta vivir aquí en México?
Sí, yo quiero vivir en Estados Unidos, pero eso ya va a ser después. Ahorita aquí estoy bien.
Sí. Tú tienes 18 años, hay mucho tiempo. O 19.
Sí, 19.
Ok, hay mucho tiempo para
hay mucho tiempo
entrar.
The other coyote asks me to give him the 100 pesos that I'd brought along for emergency purposes. He says someone spotted us and is asking for money. Perhaps naively, I approach the man to see what's going on. The man who asked us for money is a bit strange. He seems to function as both a tax collector and someone who provides first aid and flotation devices to migrants. Whatever his title was or who he works for, I don't know. But there was no option but to bring this man along.
Hola, ¿qué pasa? ¿Puedes decir tu nombre y dónde eres?
Me llamo... Soy de aquí de Piedras Negras.
¿Qué haces hoy?
Pues aquí apoyando a la gente que va cruzando, los estamos apoyando, cruzan y a veces no traen su chaleco, no traen protección para el agua, ¿verdad? No traen salvavidas y pues los estamos apoyando, ¿verdad? En eso, para que no vaya a haber un accidente o algo, porque la gente no conoce el río y llega y nada más quiere brincar y cruzan con los niños en los brazos y pues yo también tengo hijos y eso es lo que...
As we learned in our previous episode, the Rio Grande is 4 feet and 9 inches deep. And 58% of Mexicans reported as not being able to swim. So many children and older grandmothers who try and cross the river into America but are below 4'9" end up drowning.
3 migrants have died near Shelby Park in Eagle Pass. A woman and 2 children drowned in the Rio Grande River.
4 migrants, including an infant, have drowned in Eagle Pass.
Lo que muchas veces no miran ellos, ¿verdad? O sea que pueden tropezar o algo y en lo que se tropiezan el niño puede agarrar agua o algo. Y sí, pues a veces no les ayudamos, pero les avisamos, ¿verdad? Es peligroso, aparentemente se mira tranquilo, pero sí hay lugares donde está hondo y puedes ir caminando y de repente pisas y te hundes y poquita corriente que haya en ese pedazo.
So they have to buy a floater in this guy.
Creo yo, anda entre los $7,000 y $10,000 en entrar a los Estados Unidos. Me queda cerca del río y vengo aquí al río a ver en qué puedo ayudar y a veces me dan algo de dinero, ¿verdad? Y...
Sí, gracias mi amigo para la entrevista. Sí.
Chile, ¿tú quién eres, compa?
Despite his good Samaritan framing, we had no option but to pay him for his services. Still, apparently this is a bad place to cross. Our coyote points to the water to show me something.
Pues hay varias ocasiones que hay muertos ahí en las pelotas naranjas. Yo le digo las pelotas de la muerte, ¿verdad? Porque cada vez hay muertos ahí.
He points to the orange buoys in the river, installed by the state of Texas to deter migrants.
A disturbing discovery at the border. Security officials found a body trapped in the buoys recently placed in the river across from Eagle Pass.
The coyote says that on multiple occasions he's seen dead bodies trapped in the buoys. So we'll need to keep walking. But stops to tell me that he believes the Border Patrol boat from earlier has been following us using infrared heat sensor cameras. Out of nowhere, the first aid collector man starts hauling ass and my coyote follows him. Naturally, I run after them for about 10 minutes until we finally get back to a new spot in the forest.
Oh, wow.
Once again, they bring up money.
So kind of what they were saying was that right now the standard market rate for an average border crossing with a coyote is between $3,000 and $5,000.
I'm not sure how they expected me to pay them, but I wasn't worried about that. My primary concern was getting back into America. Once there, I'm sure we can easily arrange some kind of wire transfer or something. But I didn't feel that a remote forest in Mexico was the place to negotiate, so I kept going.
All right, so we just made it on a maybe 1.5 mile hike through the woods, and now we're here on the banks of the Rio Grande.
I hear the sound of a machete striking a tree behind me in the distance, so I turn around.
What is going on there?
¿Está bien?
No, man, no está bien, I don't think.
Okay. All right, guy with a machete just came out of nowhere. I guess it's kind of normal to want to chop down sticks and shit out here. But yeah, definitely not the most chill thing to see right now.
My coyotes assure me that all is well. He was just making sure that we paid the first aid man. And after a final plunge deep into the woods, we found ourselves at the perfect embankment.
That looks doable.
There were no orange buoys in the river here, and very limited razor wire on the American side. So they said we'd cross here.
All right, so as you guys can see, we're at the end of the journey here. Right here behind me is the Rio Grande. So over yonder is the United States.
Much like the initial entry point into the forest, migrants had left behind a ton of garbage here.
We got hella garbage here. We got a children's coloring book right here. I hope they're doing well, but I must say they did not do a very good job. But it's all good. Let kids be kids.
There was also a bunch of dudes there, just hanging out.
We got like a Mexican Ernest Hemingway type figure down here.
Just fishing and wishing people the best of luck.
Be careful. You have a good trip.
Is he blocked?
Be careful.
I'm not sure why, but Ernesto's words gave me the confidence boost that I needed, and the coyotes said it was go time.
Come on, come on, come on. Vamos. Okay.
See? After stripping down to my boxers and taking off my shoes, the reality of the risk that we're about to take begins to set in. At this point, I wonder if this whole thing was worth it. After all, many migrants have died on this exact journey.
In 2019 alone, 109 people lost their lives in the Rio Grande River. And last month, the body of a young girl was pulled from that body of water after an unsuccessful attempt to cross.
I see a picture of a young boy on the ground and begin to wonder, did he make it across into America for a better life? There's no way to know. There was also no time to ask questions. The first coyote was already in the water, and it was my turn. Step by step, I inch myself down. And after a few small strides, I reached the water rim. From there was only one way to go. In. As I inched through the rushing green water, I began to feel the undertow, the rapid current beneath the river's surface I'd been warned about.
Can you
And so
also
my
swing
coyote
diagonally?
asks that we link arms to avoid the rushing currents. I see an entanglement of razor wire that lets me know we're almost home, and Larry Susan's close behind me.
No.
Thank God, the experience is finally almost over.
Grab it and the other. What?
I breathe a sigh of relief as my feet touch American soil. I was finally home, in the land of the free, where the bald eagle flies. Sure, we had 76 miles to go until Uvalde.
Wait, what?
But at least I made it across the river, and away from Mexico for now.
On foot?
You're white. White. You're white.
Suddenly, my coyote ducked for cover and told us to be quiet.
Manos arriba. Ven pa' acá, usted.
Speak English.
Hands up. Speak English? Yeah. Get up. Let me see your hands. Got any guns on you?
No, sir.
Face away from me.
We're journalists.
Usted, manos arriba.
Yeah, I don't think he gives a fuck.
Súbete. You too. You speak English?
Yeah.
Stand up.
I couldn't believe it. Border Patrol had been watching us the entire time since we entered the forest,
Yeah, I can clearly hear him swimming.
and set up an ambush on the American side to apprehend
You
us.
two, face away from me. Walk backwards over here.
Jesus.
Hey, ven pa' acá, wey.
Immediately, my coyotes jumped back into the water, swimming back to Mexico.
Come back. Over here. Come over here.
This left us alone in Border Patrol custody.
There was one guy here. He obviously ran back, and then the two USCs right there.
Jesus. Damn, they had the full setup. Look at that. Look at that camera. What
After
now?
crossing the river, Andrew and his cameraman were arrested by United States Border Patrol for illegal entry into the United States. They did not realize this, but what they did was a federal felony offense called failure to report. After being arrested, they were driven to a migrant processing center and placed under detainee status and held for several days, much of which was spent in solitary confinement. Thankfully, Channel 5 personnel were able to recover their memory cards, which is how you were able to see this footage. But our team also took things a step further while Andrew was detained. Using details he gave to us over the jail phone, we hired a video game designer to create a graphic recreation of the things he saw and heard on the inside.
What
and
the
we compiled
fuck am
these
I watching?
animations and voiceovers into a documentary. If you'd like to see it, go to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/channel5. Again, that's www.patreon.com/channel5. As
sorry, yes,
As many of you know, we are primarily crowdfunded and supported by your monthly contributions. Free the guys and free C Mac the Loke.
Channel 5 live worldwide, Hollywood and Vine.
Fuck the authority, Channel 5 News.
Channel 55. We don't fuck with custers. And 5 is the best number.
Fuck us.
Jesus, dude. Chad, that was something. Chad, that was actually pretty good. But that was like kind of tough though. Chad, I feel like you almost like had like no choice across at that point, no?